My name is Sean Lewis, Executive Director for Day One Society. As we mark 50 years for this organization, we wanted to produce a film that captures the challenges that so many people endure with substance use issues. By doing so, we hope to offer insight into this battle, to help us all gain better understanding, to be a little kinder, to be a little bit more compassionate, and to end the stigma around alcohol and drug addictions. And we also wanted to acknowledge the people in our communities, neighbors, our friends, and our family members who have turned that thought of one day I'm going to get help into day one of their journey of recovery and wellness. It all starts with day one.
What does addiction feel like?
I was thinking about this one last night because I just, it feels like drowning.
Anything that we think we need to have in order to feel better is an attachment to that thing. The more we want something, the more we're attached to something, the harder it is to let it go. And that creates suffering.
Addiction is a profound, sometimes uncontrollable urge.
It is just so dark. You're never gonna get out of this, even if you wanted to.
It was insanity. I hated my life, but at the same time, I didn't want to let it go.
You don't realize the things and the stuff you have until you've lost it, until you've lost everything. I have two daughters that lost a good part of their father's life.
I had self-loathing for myself, so I couldn't even provide my own company. I hated being alone, but I didn't like being around people because I couldn't trust them. So it was very, very hard. Hard thing to live in.
When people start cutting you out of their lives because they just, God, it's a lonely place.
Addiction is an interesting phenomenon because it doesn't affect just a certain type of person or a type of family. It can sneak its way under the door of anybody's home.
It can be your best friend and they just haven't told you yet.
They started out using to create fun in their life or excitement, and all of a sudden they're finding that they aren't in control any longer, and they're fighting for control. It's frightening. Like all of a sudden they're not in control, and they're realizing that they're not able to stop.
Over time, it's just like you don't want to break the trust. You don't want to hurt your family or your coworkers or anyone, but it just becomes that actual physical need inside your body, and you can't just turn it off without help.
That line is different for people, and often people will recognize that things are getting worse, and they make a decision to cross that line anyway. I'm not going to seek help, but I'll be able to control it. It won't be so bad this time. And they move on, and their line, they keep stepping over the line farther and farther and farther.
Addiction, and when it takes over somebody, it's evil. It's conniving. And I know from doing it, I would do whatever I needed to get what I needed from you.
or manipulative, and we'll drag you down to, where we are if you give us the chance. It'll ruin everything.
You become dependent when your brain chemistry changes. And now your brain has set a new so-called normal. And it functions in this new called normal in the presence of that thing that you're addicted to. When you don't have that thing that you're addicted to, your brain revolts. Leads to cravings, leads to sickness. I hate stigma. So stigma is often based on lack of education, lack of understanding. It's a pretty negative term, stigma. Usually implies that people or society denigrate or look down on people who have certain issues or characteristics.
Marilyn, do you want people judging that you had that extra piece of cake, or that you're spending your money in a certain way, or that you're doing this or that? And I thought, no, I don't want that judgment in my life. Why should I be judging those people?
When you get lost in it, it doesn't really feel like there's a way out.
The fact of the matter is that they can't. It's not that they don't want to, they can't.
People often think that somebody who's an addict, whatever it is simply somebody who has some impairment in their moral standards, some character flaw. If they just gave their head a shake and said, I quit, they would be able to quit, but they don't want to quit. Understanding that's not what addiction is about might help you understand what they're going through.
No one wakes up one morning and says, I want to be a drug addict and go and steal from others and live on the streets to just keep using.
Stigma holds people back.
You can't change it. You want to change it, but you physically and mentally cannot. It takes over everything. When you found something that seems to take away the pain in the beginning, then it becomes an addiction, then it now creates more pain. It's no longer helping, it's just creating more, but you can't get out of it, and you don't know how. Where do you start? Accepting that you have an addiction because everybody does, that's a good start.
You're done when you're done.
Day one's today, just like, hey, just take today. Don't think about where you're gonna be next week or even tomorrow. Just focus on today and make it to midnight without using it all.
That first day is supporting them and making them believe too, because I know they want it. So making them feel strong that they can get through that first 24 hours, that first day.
When does recovery end?
When I'm in the ground. I look right in that mirror and I say, no matter what happens today, we're not taking a drink. I'm not gonna drink today no matter what happens. And I just do that every day, and the next day comes, I do the same thing, and that was 1,723 days ago, right? So my goal is to die sober.
They can make it through this. Everybody can do this. It's nobody's a lost cause. Everybody has the ability to make a decision, to walk through the steps they need for recovery.
I was reading some of these questions and I'm like, he's gonna ask me these answers and I assume that people want positivity, but it's hard. It's not an easy path. It's hard to face yourself. It's hard to work through the things that caused you to lead yourself to addiction to begin with. And that's what recovery is. So sad fact is why so many people die in addiction. Who the fuck wants to spend all of this time remembering the bad shit and working through it?
It's a tough choice. It's hard to be in recovery. It's not an easy thing when you've got trauma or guilt or shame or disconnection, feelings of abandonment, mistrust. When those things are happening for you, how do you feel safe to walk through the door? Unless somebody says, hey, we're over here on the other side. We're waiting for you. Come on over. We're interested in your story.
Need to teach people how to empower themselves and to rebuild themselves, because they've lost so much love and respect for themselves through the act of addiction, that they need to rebuild that again.
I wanted other things in life too, and to get to those, I had to do this.
My worst day clean is better than any of my best days high. So it's worth it. I have a life today.
You become an inspiration for others. Your life becomes hopeful. That it's such a gift, and the gifts just keep coming once a person becomes clean. Your mind is blown with the possibilities.